Vanuatu warned March 17 it faces imminent food shortages as accounts emerged of huge damage to a large outer island, days after one of the fiercest cyclones on record pummeled the sprawling Pacific nation. Relief agencies have warned that conditions are among the most challenging they have faced, with mounting concerns about disease, and the nation's President Baldwin Lonsdale has appealed for the world to help after severe tropical cyclone Pam lashed the island with wind gusts of up to 320 kilometres, 200 miles, per hour. With 24 people so far confirmed dead, the scale of the disaster became clearer with the first team of aid workers reaching Tanna Island, home to 30,000 people some 200 kilometers south of the capital Port Vila, itself badly damaged. The impression they got from their initial observations was that the damage is significantly worse than Port Vila, Tom Perry from Care Australia told AFP. He added that the hospital was functioning, but it had no roof. Australian Foreign Minister Julie Bishop said reconnaissance by the Australian military confirmed significant damage in the southern islands, and particularly Tanna Island, where it appears that more than 80% of houses and buildings have been partially or completely destroyed, she said. Not only buildings flattened, but palm plantations, trees. It's quite a devastating sight. Communications to many of the other 80 islands in the sprawling archipelago, most only accessible by boat, were still down, and Benjamin Shing, from Lonsdale's office, said survivors would quickly run out of food. The first week we are relying on the fact that the food crops and the gardens are still edible and they can be used for the first week, but after the first week we'll need to get some rations on the ground, he told the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. With crops wiped out, Shing feared the worst for a country that largely relies on subsistence farming, warning there might be a lot of fatalities. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, said in a situation report that there are 24 confirmed fatalities across Vanuatu so far and some 30 injured. Perry said of the 24 dead, at least 5 were from Tanna, and that Care Australia was also worried about the lack of food. Food running out is of great concern, he said. Local woman Sale Kilia said residents living in Meli, a large village of about 5,000 people 2 kilometers south of Port Vila, were starting to worry about where they could source their next meal. We only have the leftovers now, she said. In Port Vila, access to water and electricity was partially restored after the storm brought down an estimated 80% of power lines and damaged most homes. Stores also began reopening, but entire neighborhoods remained without power as aid workers streamed in to help make sense of what many have said was one of the region's worst weather disasters. In the capital, leaves and branches lined the streets while residents began clearing metal roof sheeting from the roads around their homes and using machetes to hack through fallen trees. Personal belongings, household items, mattresses, and clothes were spread out on the ground and hung on washing lines as people dried them out, with the cyclone slowly weakening. Samuel Toura, 25, thought he was going to die when the storm barreled ashore, sheltering in the pitch black with 2 other young men as the tempest roared past his home. It was very hard. The cyclone sounded like a big plane flying very low, he told AFP. As heavy rain pounded his house, made of corrugated metal and timber, part of the roof blew off. The rain and wind was like white smoke and it flooded up to my knee. But I told the boys don't worry about the water, he said. As long as we survive. The United Nations said there were at least 3,300 people sheltering in 37 evacuation centers around the country, including Melissa Song, 22. She was sharing a small guest room at a Port Vila resort which was turned into a makeshift evacuation center with 9 other family members, including 3 young children and a baby. We've had no sleep since Thursday, Song told AFP. We've just been eating tinned tuna, fish, and pork. UNICEF has estimated that 60,000 children have been affected by the cyclone and virtually all schools were closed, with the organization attempting to restore some normality to their lives. Emergency specialist Mion Emoto expressed concern about what they would eat. Food security is likely to be a continual problem and we need to start thinking now about how children will stay well fed.